For decades, we've gazed up at the stars with wonder, asking ourselves one of humanity's most profound questions. Are we alone in the universe? We've built massive radio telescopes, sent golden records into deep space aboard the Voyager probes, and scanned the heavens for any sign of intelligent life. We've made movies about alien visitors, written countless books, and devoted entire scientific careers to the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. But here's a question we rarely stop to consider. What if the aliens have found us, taken one good look, and decided to keep on flying? Think about it for a moment. We humans have this underlying assumption baked into our search for alien life. The assumption that if intelligent beings exist out there, they would naturally want to make contact with us. We imagine ourselves as the fascinating subject of cosmic curiosity, a young civilization worthy of first contact, perhaps even worthy of being welcomed into some grand galactic community. We picture flying saucers landing on the White House lawn, wise alien ambassadors sharing their advanced knowledge, and humanity taking its rightful place among the stars. But what if we've got it all backwards? What if Earth isn't the crown jewel of the galaxy we imagine it to be? What if, to any sufficiently advanced civilization capable of crossing the vast distances between stars, our little blue planet looks less like an exciting destination and more like a cosmic red flag? Consider how we judge whether to visit a place here on Earth. We look at safety, culture, whether the locals are welcoming, and whether the destination has something unique to offer. We check travel advisories, we read reviews, we make informed decisions about where we want to spend our time and resources. Now imagine an advanced alien civilization doing the same kind of assessment about Earth. They'd be looking at us from afar, observing our behavior, our technology, our treatment of our own planet and each other. And honestly, what would they see? They wouldn't see the beauty of a sunset over the Grand Canyon or hear Beethoven's symphonies. They wouldn't experience a grandmother's loving embrace or witness an act of selfless heroism. Those intimate, beautiful moments that make humanity special aren't visible from space. What's visible from space is something quite different, and we'll explore exactly what that is throughout this video. The uncomfortable truth we need to face is that we might be living in a cosmic neighborhood where we've unknowingly earned ourselves a certain reputation, not the reputation we'd like to have as a wise and welcoming species ready for contact, but perhaps as the problematic planet that other civilizations have collectively decided to avoid. It's like being the house on the street that everyone walks past a little faster, the one that prompts knowing glances between neighbors. This isn't about self-hatred or pessimism about humanity. We've accomplished remarkable things as a species. We've created breathtaking art, made stunning scientific discoveries, and shown incredible capacity for love, compassion, and cooperation. But if we're going to honestly ask why we might be alone in our cosmic corner, we need to take an unflinching look at ourselves through the eyes of a hypothetical alien observer. Over the next several chapters, we are going to explore the reasons why Earth might not be on any alien civilization's travel itinerary. We'll examine the signals we're sending into space, both literal and figurative. We'll look at our behavior as a species and ask hard questions about what kind of impression we're making on the cosmic stage. And yes, we'll also talk about hope, because understanding our shortcomings is the first step toward fixing them. So buckle up, because this journey might be uncomfortable at times. We're about to hold up a mirror to humanity and see ourselves as the galaxy might see us. The view might not be pretty, but it's necessary if we ever hope to become the kind of civilization that actually deserves a visit from the stars. Imagine you're trying to assess a neighborhood you've never visited before. As you drive through, you notice one house blasting music at full volume at 3 in the morning, a chaotic mix of screaming, explosions, and random noise that changes every few minutes. Would you stop by for a visit, or would you keep driving, making a mental note to avoid that particular address? Well, folks, when it comes to the cosmic neighborhood, we're that house, and we have been for the better part of a century. Since the 1930s, humanity has been inadvertently broadcasting our presence to the universe. Every radio show, every television program, every radar signal, they don't just stay on Earth. These electromagnetic waves radiate outward into space at the speed of light, creating an ever-expanding bubble of human noise that now extends roughly 90 light-years in all directions. That means our signals have potentially reached thousands of star systems, carrying with them a rather unflattering portrait of our civilization. Now, you might think this is exciting. After all, isn't this exactly what we want? To announce our presence to the cosmos? But here's the problem. We're not sending carefully curated messages designed to present humanity at its best. We're sending everything. The good, the bad, and the utterly embarrassing. Think about what was on television in the early days of broadcasting. The first signals strong enough to escape Earth's atmosphere and head into deep space were from the 1936 Berlin Olympics, hosted by Nazi Germany. That's right. One of the strongest early signals carrying human voices into the cosmos was literally Nazi propaganda. What a first impression, but it doesn't get much better from there. Any alien civilization intercepting our broadcasts would be treated to a bizarre cavalcade of content. One moment they might pick up a news broadcast about war and violence. The next moment a soap opera filled with melodrama and manufactured conflict. Then perhaps a reality show where humans compete, argue and backstab each other for entertainment, followed by advertisements trying to convince people they're inadequate unless they buy certain products. And let's not forget the endless parade of violent movies, crime dramas, and shows that glorify everything from gang warfare to serial killers. From an outside perspective, trying to understand humanity through our broadcasts would be like trying to understand someone's personality by listening to them scream random thoughts for 90 years straight. There's no context, no explanation, no carefully crafted narrative about who we are and what we value. Just chaos. And here's what makes it worse. Any civilization advanced enough to travel between stars would almost certainly be advanced enough to decode our transmissions. They could be watching our shows, listening to our radio and observing our communications right now. They'd see us arguing on talk shows, fighting wars reported on the evening news, and broadcasting entertainment that often centers around conflict, violence, and humanity's worst impulses. To an advanced alien civilization, our electromagnetic signature might resemble the digital equivalent of a person having a very public nervous breakdown. We're shouting into the void without any real awareness of who might be listening or what impression we're creating. We're like someone who pocket-dialed the entire galaxy and doesn't realize everyone can hear us. Compare this to how we might expect an advanced civilization to communicate. Surely beings capable of interstellar travel would have learned to send clear, purposeful, carefully constructed messages. They'd probably use efficient communication methods we haven't even imagined yet. And here we are still essentially using the cosmic equivalent of yelling randomly into the darkness. There's also the sheer volume to consider. We're not just loud, we're getting louder. With every passing year we add more satellites, more broadcasts, more digital noise to our electromagnetic signature. From space, Earth probably looks less like a quiet, contemplative civilization and more like a planet that can't stop talking, yet has nothing particularly coherent to say. If you were an advanced alien civilization, would you want to introduce yourself to the species creating all this racket? Or would you perhaps decide that these humans need a bit more time to mature before they're ready for a cosmic conversation? Maybe you'd bookmark our location and make a note to check back in a few hundred years, hoping we've learned some self-awareness by then. The signals we're sending tell a story, just not the story we'd probably choose to tell. Let's talk about something uncomfortable but necessary, our relationship with violence. If an alien civilization has been observing Earth for any length of time, they've witnessed something that would likely give them serious pause. We are a species that has spent most of its recorded history fighting itself. Take a step back and look at human history from a distance. What do you see? Empires rising and falling through conquest, civilizations clashing over territory, resources, and ideology. Wars that span continents and oceans, conflicts that have killed millions upon millions of our own kind. From the ancient battles of antiquity to the mechanized slaughter of the world wars, from regional conflicts to civil wars, humanity's story is unfortunately drenched in blood. Now we might rationalize this. We might say that conflict is natural, that competition drives progress, that we've been getting better over time. And yes, there's some truth to those arguments. But imagine explaining this to an observer from the stars, who might have evolved past such tendencies thousands or millions of years ago. How do you justify our behavior to beings who might have solved their differences through reason rather than violence? But here's what makes it even more alarming from an outside perspective. We developed weapons capable of destroying our entire civilization, and we came terrifyingly close to using them. The nuclear age represents perhaps the most damning evidence of our collective recklessness. Between 1945 and 1996, humanity conducted over 2,000 nuclear weapons tests. 2,000 times we detonated devices capable of unleashing the power of the sun itself, often right here in our own atmosphere, on our own planet. Think about what that looks like from space. These weren't quiet experiments. Nuclear detonations create distinctive signatures, brilliant flashes of light, electromagnetic pulses, and radiation that would be detectable far beyond our atmosphere. Any civilization monitoring our planet would have witnessed us playing with world-ending weapons like children who found their parents' gun cabinet. We tested these devices in our oceans, in our deserts, on islands, and in the atmosphere itself, seemingly unconcerned about the long-term consequences. And during the Cold War, we brought ourselves to the brink multiple times. There were moments, documented, terrifying moments, when the fate of human civilization hung on the decisions of a handful of individuals. The Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962 brought us within a hair's breadth of nuclear annihilation. There have been false alarms, miscommunications, and near launches based on computer errors. We literally had our fingers on the button, ready to end everything multiple times. Ask yourself, would you visit a civilization that had developed the technology to destroy itself and came close to using it? Would you trust a species that stockpiles thousands of weapons, capable of rendering their own planet uninhabitable? It's like watching someone juggle lit sticks of dynamite and thinking, perhaps I'll come back when they've put those down. Even setting aside nuclear weapons, how conventional conflicts are visible from space. The burning oil fields during the Gulf War, the lights going dark in cities under siege, the environmental devastation left by modern warfare. An observing civilization would see a species that, despite having the resources and intelligence to solve problems peacefully, repeatedly chooses violence. And it's not just nation against nation. We fight within our own borders. Civil wars, ethnic cleansing, genocide, these aren't ancient history. They've happened in our lifetimes. Rwanda in 1994, the Yugoslav wars in the 1990s, ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, Africa and Asia. We can't seem to stop hurting each other, even when we fully understand the consequences. Now, here's the really troubling part for any alien observers. A species capable of interstellar travel would need to achieve an incredible level of cooperation and stability. You can't build generation ships or develop faster-than-light travel while your civilization is busy destroying itself. The very fact that we're still fighting suggests we haven't reached that critical threshold of maturity. From an alien perspective, we might look like a dangerous, unstable species that hasn't yet learned the most fundamental lesson: how to live together peacefully. We're the cosmic equivalent of the angry person at the bar looking for a fight. And who wants to approach someone like that? Until we can demonstrate that we've moved past our violent tendencies, why would any advanced civilization risk making contact? They might simply be waiting to see if we destroy ourselves first. Chapter 4. We're destroying our own home here, is a thought that should make us all deeply uncomfortable. We are the only known species in the universe capable of understanding that our actions are destroying our own planet, and yet we continue doing it anyway. If that doesn't send a clear message to any observing alien civilization about our collective intelligence and worthiness of contact, I don't know what would. Let's start with what's visible from space, because that's the perspective any alien visitors would have. Our planet is changing, and not in subtle ways. Satellite imagery shows the Amazon rainforest, often called the lungs of our planet, shrinking year after year. What was once a vast expanse of green is increasingly interrupted by brown patches where forests once stood. We're cutting down trees at a rate of roughly 10 billion per year. That's not a typo. 10 billion trees annually gone. The polar ice caps are melting at an accelerating rate. An alien civilization monitoring Earth over just the past few decades would have watched the Arctic ice sheet shrink dramatically. They'd see glaciers that took thousands of years to form disappearing within human lifetimes. The visual evidence of our impact on our own climate would be undeniable to anyone looking at our planet from above. Our oceans tell an even more troubling story. From space, you can see massive garbage patches, floating islands of plastic waste that span areas larger than many countries. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch alone covers an estimated 1.6 million square kilometers. That's roughly twice the size of Texas, just floating there as a testament to our inability to manage our own waste. Imagine an alien expedition report. Planetary inhabitants appear to be using their oceans as a dumping ground. But it's not just what we're putting into our environment, it's what we're taking out. Overfishing has devastated ocean ecosystems. Coral reefs, which can be seen from space and took millions of years to develop, are bleaching and dying at unprecedented rates. We're acidifying our oceans, warming our atmosphere, and fundamentally altering the chemistry of our own life support system. The air itself bears witness to our recklessness. Major cities around the world are regularly shrouded in smog so thick it's visible from orbit. Beijing, Delhi, Los Angeles. At various times, these cities disappear under blankets of pollution that we ourselves created. We're literally making it harder for ourselves to breathe, and we know it, yet we continue the activities causing it. Now think about this from an alien perspective. Any civilization advanced enough to achieve interstellar travel would have necessarily solved their own environmental challenges. You can't build a sustainable long-term spacefaring civilization while destroying your home planet. It's simply not possible. The technology, cooperation, and long-term thinking required for space travel demands that you first master living in harmony with your own environment. So what would these advanced beings think when they see us? They'd see a species that has the scientific knowledge to understand exactly what we're doing wrong. We have climate scientists who can predict, with frightening accuracy, what will happen if we continue on our current path. We have the technology to transition to renewable energy. We have the capability to change course. But we're not doing it fast enough, if at all. In many places, it's rather like watching someone deliberately poison their own water supply while knowing it's poisoned. It suggests either profound stupidity or a disturbing inability to act in our own self-interest. Neither quality would inspire confidence in potential alien visitors. There's also the question of values this behavior reveals. We're willing to sacrifice the long-term habitability of our planet for short-term profit and convenience. We'll destroy ecosystems that took millions of years to evolve for resources we'll exhaust within decades. We'll compromise the future of our own children and grandchildren because making changes now is inconvenient or expensive. What does this say about our wisdom as a species? What does it say about our ability to think beyond immediate gratification? An advanced alien civilization might look at us and see a species that hasn't yet learned the most basic principle of survival. Don't destroy the only home you have. Perhaps most damning of all, we're doing this with full awareness. This isn't ignorance, it's willful negligence. And that might be the scariest thing visible from space, a species intelligent enough to know better, but not wise enough to act on that knowledge. Let's put humanity's existence into perspective with a cosmic timeline that might be humbling to consider. The universe is approximately 13.8 billion years old. Our planet Earth formed about 4.5 billion years ago. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, have existed for roughly 300,000 years, and we've only had anything resembling advanced technology for about 200 years. In cosmic terms, we're not just young. We're infants. We're newborns who just learned to crawl and are now convinced we're ready to run a marathon. Imagine if alien civilizations age like wine, getting better and wiser with time. Some might have developed spacefaring technology millions of years ago, perhaps even billions of years ago. While we were still single-celled organisms floating in Earth's ancient oceans, they might have already been exploring galaxies. By the time our ancestors were learning to make fire, they could have been building Dyson spheres around their stars. Now picture one of these ancient advanced civilizations stumbling across Earth today. What would they see? They'd see a species that discovered electricity only about 150 years ago. We split the atom less than a century ago. We've only had computers for a few decades. The internet, that network we think is so revolutionary, is younger than many people reading this. We're essentially toddlers playing with increasingly dangerous toys while barely understanding how they work. Here's the critical problem. Our technological development has vastly outpaced our wisdom and maturity. We're like teenagers who just got their driver's license, a sports car, and access to their parents' liquor cabinet, all on the same day. We have nuclear weapons, genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and climate-altering industrial capacity, but we're still figuring out how to share resources fairly, how to resolve conflicts without violence, and how to think beyond the next quarterly profit report. This is what psychologists might call a dangerous developmental gap. Our tools have become incredibly powerful, but our collective decision-making processes, our ethics, and our social structures haven't kept pace. We can modify DNA, but we can't agree on how to use that power responsibly. We can communicate instantly across the globe, but we use that capability to spread misinformation and hatred as often as wisdom and compassion. Think about a mature, advanced civilization, one that's had millions of years to work through these growing pains. They would have presumably developed beyond petty tribalism. They'd have learned to think in terms of millennia rather than election cycles. They'd have balanced their technological capabilities with genuine wisdom about when and how to use them. They'd have achieved the kind of social and emotional maturity that would make them stable, reliable, and safe to interact with. Now look at us. We still divide ourselves by arbitrary lines on maps we drew ourselves. We still fight over whose imaginary friend in the sky is the right one. We still struggle with basic concepts like treating all members of our own species with equal dignity and respect. We make decisions based on what benefits us right now, this quarter, this year, with little regard for consequences that might unfold over decades or centuries. An advanced alien civilization observing us would likely see exactly what we are. A precocious but dangerously immature species in the awkward adolescence of its development. We're smart enough to be dangerous, to ourselves and potentially to others, but not yet wise enough to be trusted with the powers we've acquired. There's also the matter of perspective that comes with age. When you've existed for millions of years, what's the rush to make contact with a species that's only been technologically active for a century or two? From their viewpoint, checking back on Earth in another 1,000 years would be like us waiting a few minutes. They might simply be exercising patience, waiting to see if we survive our own adolescence, before investing the time and resources into formal contact. Consider this analogy. If you encountered a bright but immature teenager, having a loud argument with themselves, playing with dangerous chemicals without safety equipment, and making a mess of their room, would you immediately try to engage them in a sophisticated philosophical discussion? Or would you perhaps step back, let them mature a bit and hope they learn some lessons before you get too involved? We might simply be too young, too reckless, and too unpredictable for the galactic community to take seriously yet. And honestly, given our track record, can we really blame them for keeping their distance until we grow up a little? If you've ever watched Star Trek, you're familiar with the Prime Directive, that famous rule forbidding the Federation from interfering with the natural development of less advanced civilizations. It's a fictional concept, of course, but here's a thought that should give us pause. What if it's not fiction at all? What if advanced alien civilizations actually operate under similar ethical guidelines, and Earth is currently on the Do Not Contact list? Think about it from a practical standpoint. Any civilization capable of crossing the vast distances between stars would have necessarily developed not just advanced technology, but advanced ethics and philosophy as well. They'd have had countless opportunities throughout their long history to encounter younger, less developed species, and they'd have learned, perhaps through painful experience, that premature contact can do more harm than good. Consider what happens here on Earth when a technologically advanced society makes contact with a less advanced one. History is full of tragic examples. Indigenous peoples around the world have had their cultures disrupted, destroyed, or fundamentally altered by contact with more technologically advanced civilizations. Sometimes this happened through deliberate conquest, but often the damage was done even with good intentions. The mere presence of superior technology, different ideas, and alien cultures can destabilize societies that aren't ready for the encounter. Now scale that up to a cosmic level. Imagine what would happen if an advanced alien civilization made open contact with humanity right now, today. The implications would be staggering and potentially catastrophic. Every religious framework would be challenged. Economic systems might collapse. Political structures could crumble. The psychological impact alone could be devastating. Suddenly knowing for certain that we are not the pinnacle of intelligence or achievement in the universe that we're actually quite primitive by comparison. Our entire sense of identity as a species could be shattered overnight. We've spent our entire existence thinking of ourselves as the height of creation, the masters of our world, the most intelligent beings we know of. Having that worldview demolished by the arrival of beings far more advanced than us could trigger a global existential crisis. Some of us might handle it well, but many wouldn't. Societies might fracture. Panic could spread. The social fabric that holds our civilization together might simply unravel. An advanced alien civilization would understand this danger perfectly. They'd recognize that contact with a species like ours, one that's technologically capable, but still socially and philosophically immature, could do irreparable harm to our natural development. They might have protocols, regulations, or even deeply held moral beliefs about letting younger civilizations develop on their own terms, without interference. This brings us to the zoo hypothesis, first proposed by astronomer John Ball in 1973. The idea is simple but profound. Earth might be part of a protected zone, a kind of cosmic wildlife preserve, where we're being observed but deliberately not contacted. We might be living in what amounts to a galactic nature documentary, with advanced civilizations watching our development, with the same care and non-interference that wildlife biologists show when observing endangered species in their natural habitat. Under this scenario, there might be rules governing how and when contact can be made. Perhaps civilizations must reach certain developmental milestones before they're approached. Maybe we need to achieve global peace, or solve our environmental crisis, or demonstrate a certain level of wisdom before we're considered ready. We might need to prove we can handle the truth about our place in the universe before that truth is revealed to us. Think of it like a parent deciding when their child is ready for certain responsibilities or knowledge. You don't give a 5-year-old the keys to the car, no matter how much they beg. You wait until they're mature enough to handle that responsibility safely. Advanced aliens might be applying the same logic to us on a civilizational scale. There's even the possibility that Earth is actively protected by some form of quarantine protocol. Perhaps there are alien civilizations that would like to exploit us or our planet, but are prevented from doing so by the galactic equivalent of wildlife protection laws. We might owe our continued independence to regulations we don't even know exist, enforced by authorities we've never met. This theory also explains the paradox of the Fermi question. Where is everybody? They might be out there in vast numbers, but they're all deliberately staying away, bound by ethical principles or legal frameworks that prevent them from interfering with our development. We're not alone and we're not being ignored. We're being carefully, deliberately left alone to grow up at our own pace. If this is true, then first contact won't happen on our timeline. It'll happen when they decide we're ready. Let's talk about something that science fiction movies have trained us to overlook: the sheer mind-boggling impossibility of interstellar travel. We watch films where alien ships zip across the galaxy in moments, where vast cosmic distances are treated as minor inconveniences. But the reality of space travel is so much more daunting than most of us realize. And it might be the simplest explanation for why we haven't had visitors. They literally can't get here, even if they wanted to. Start with the basics. Our nearest stellar neighbor, Proxima Centauri, is about 4.2 light-years away. That means light, traveling at 186,000 miles per second, takes 4.2 years to make the journey. Now, we humans have never built anything that moves even a fraction of that speed. Our fastest spacecraft, the Parker Solar Probe, reaches speeds of about 430,000 miles per hour, which sounds impressive until you realize that's only about 0.064% of the speed of light. At that speed, reaching Proxima Centauri would take roughly 6,500 years. Think about that for a moment. That's longer than all of recorded human history. The journey would span more than 260 human generations. The people who arrived wouldn't just be descendants of those who left. It'd be so many generations removed that the original departure would be ancient mythology to them, and Proxima Centauri is our closest neighbor. Most stars are vastly farther away. The majority of potentially habitable planets we've discovered are hundreds or thousands of light-years distant. Even traveling at the speed of light, which, according to Einstein, is impossible for anything with mass, these journeys would take longer than entire civilizations typically last, But let's say an alien civilization somehow solved the speed problem. Let's imagine they developed some form of faster-than-light travel, or learned to manipulate wormholes, or discovered some physics-bending technology we can't even conceive of. They'd still face another crushing problem: time dilation. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that as you approach the speed of light, time literally slows down for you relative to the rest of the universe. To travelers on a near-light-speed ship, the journey might feel like it takes a few years, but back on their homeworld, centuries or even millennia could pass. They'd return to find everyone they knew long dead, their civilization potentially transformed beyond recognition, or perhaps gone entirely. Who would volunteer for that mission? Then there's the resource problem. Even if you could build a ship capable of interstellar travel, the energy requirements would be astronomical, literally. Accelerating even a small spacecraft to a significant fraction of light speed would require more energy than most nations currently produce in a year. Doing it for a vessel, large enough to carry a meaningful expedition across interstellar distances, would require energy resources that might strain even an advanced civilization. And we haven't even discussed the dangers. Space isn't empty. It's filled with radiation, micrometeoroids, dust, and countless other hazards. At relativistic speeds, even a grain of sand becomes a devastating projectile. A ship traveling at near light speed would need shielding so advanced and robust that building it might be beyond even very advanced civilizations. There's also the question of purpose. Why would any civilization invest the enormous resources, time, and risk required for interstellar travel just to visit Earth? What could they possibly gain that would justify such an expenditure? We have nothing they couldn't find on thousands of other planets closer to home. We're not special in terms of resources or location. We're essentially in a cosmic backwater, far from anything that might be considered a galactic center or major travel route. Perhaps the hardest truth to accept is this: the universe might be teeming with intelligent life, but the distances between civilizations are so vast that meaningful contact is simply impossible. We might all be shouting into the void, but the void is so large that our voices never reach each other. It's like being isolated on separate islands in an infinite ocean, each of us convinced there must be others out there somewhere, but unable to ever reach them. The galaxy might not be a neighborhood at all. It might be a collection of solitary prisons, each civilization confined to their own tiny island of warmth and light, separated by cold. Dark expanses so vast that crossing them is beyond even the most advanced technology. Perhaps aliens aren't visiting us for the simplest reason imaginable. They can't. And we can't visit them either. We're all stuck at home. After 7 chapters of examining our cosmic shortcomings, you might be feeling a bit discouraged. We've catalogued our violence, our environmental destruction, our immaturity, and our isolation. But here's the thing. Understanding our problems is the first step towards solving them. And despite all our flaws, humanity has shown a remarkable capacity for growth, change, and redemption. We're not a lost cause, not by a long shot. Let's start with some perspective. Yes, we've been destructive and short-sighted, but we're also the species that created the music of Mozart and the poetry of Maya Angelou. We've painted the Sistine Chapel and built the International Space Station. We've eradicated diseases, expanded human rights, and reduced extreme poverty dramatically in just the past few decades. We're capable of extraordinary things when we put our minds to it, and here's what's encouraging. We're becoming more aware of our problems. Climate change isn't a fringe concern anymore. It's a mainstream issue that even world leaders can no longer ignore. Young people around the globe are demanding action, holding their governments accountable, and refusing to accept the status quo. The environmental movement has grown from a handful of activists to a worldwide phenomenon. We're starting to understand that we can't keep treating our planet like a disposable resource. The reduction in global violence is another reason for optimism, even if it doesn't always feel that way. Despite what the news might tell you, we're actually living in one of the most peaceful periods in human history. Wars between major powers have become increasingly rare. International cooperation, while imperfect, is far more common than it was a century ago. Organizations like the United Nations, for all their flaws, represent our attempt to solve problems through dialogue rather than conflict. We're also seeing unprecedented global cooperation on scientific endeavors. The International Space Station represents multiple nations working together in space, literally above the conflicts that divide us on Earth. The Large Hadron Collider involves thousands of scientists from dozens of countries collaborating on fundamental research. When we faced the COVID-19 pandemic, scientists worldwide shared data and worked together to develop vaccines in record time. These examples show that we can transcend our differences when we focus on common goals. Technology, which has caused many of our problems, might also provide solutions. We're developing renewable energy sources that could eliminate our dependence on fossil fuels. We're creating technologies to clean our oceans and restore our forests. We're learning to grow food more efficiently with less environmental impact. Electric vehicles, solar panels, and wind turbines are no longer futuristic dreams. They're increasingly common realities. Perhaps most importantly, we're developing a new consciousness about our place in the universe. The famous pale blue dot photograph taken by Voyager 1 showed us our planet as a tiny speck in the vastness of space. That image changed how many people think about Earth and our responsibility to it. We're beginning to see ourselves not as separate nations competing for resources, but as one species, sharing one fragile home. Space exploration itself is advancing rapidly. Private companies are making space travel more accessible. We're planning to return to the Moon and eventually reach Mars. We're launching ever more sophisticated telescopes to search for habitable planets and signs of life. With each discovery, we learn more about our cosmic neighborhood and our potential place in it. The key to becoming visit-worthy isn't developing faster spaceships or building bigger telescopes. It's about maturing as a civilization. It's about learning to live in peace with each other and in harmony with our planet. It's about thinking beyond our individual lifetimes and considering the legacy we leave for future generations. It's about developing wisdom to match our intelligence. We're not there yet. We still have a long way to go, but the trajectory is encouraging. Each generation seems to be slightly more aware, slightly more compassionate, slightly more willing to think globally rather than tribally. We're learning, slowly but surely, the lessons that might one day make us worthy of joining a galactic community, if such a thing exists. So yes, aliens might not be visiting us right now, and we've explored many reasons why. But that doesn't mean they never will. Every day we choose peace over violence, sustainability over exploitation, and cooperation over conflict. We're improving our cosmic reputation. We're becoming the kind of civilization that deserves contact. The future isn't written yet. We're writing it right now with every choice we make. And that's the most hopeful thing of all. We have the power to change our story. We can become the civilization we want to be, the one that earns its place among the stars. It won't be easy, and it won't happen overnight, but it's possible. And possibility, my friends, is where hope lives.